Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to 7 weirdest things I've seen in America. I got confused for a second by Lost in the Pond. And yeah, I reacted to him for the first time in a long time, like 2 days ago. And yeah, I'm recording this on the day of the big game. So you're watching this when you've seen the demolition job that the US have done. Sorry, the US? England have done on the US. It's going to be, I'm predicting, 4-1 England. Now, 3-1 England's my prediction, but fuck it. Why not be over the top? 4-1. Now, I actually think it's going to be a close game. 3-1 England's my prediction, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer. But yeah, the game's over at this point, so it doesn't matter what I'm saying. But we're going to get into this video. Hopefully, you're going to enjoy. Obviously, go subscribe to his channel if you haven't. I'm sure you all know, and you are all subscribed to his channel by now. But if in the off chance you haven't, go give him that support. But I just kicked my chair. But let's jump into this and see some of these weird things. And yeah, links are also in the description to my Patreon if you want to see some of my videos. I'm not going to be posting as much whilst I'm away because I've not had time. I've said this in every video intro for the last few days, but yeah, if you want to see some more of my videos, links are in the description to my Patreon, or you want to suggest me some videos for when I'm back, it's all there. But let's jump into this.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to all of the weird stuff that we do. Specifically, the weird stuff that they do in America. I think people who live in another country might have this idea that America is just the land of weird because of all of the news stories that get funneled out to the UK and elsewhere.
AKA
what
Florida.
Weird stories am I talking about? Well, there was that weird incident in 2009 when those parents pretended that their boy was trapped inside a balloon that had flown off. And then, of course, every breaking...
Huh? Kid trapped in balloon, USA. Wait, what? Kid trapped. What? The boy trapped in a balloon? The event attracted worldwide attention. That has made my day. Even if England lose, that has made my day. What the fuck? Only in flipping the US, man, I swear.
Political story ever, that's the same in my country, and anything that involves the word man and Florida. But as somebody who's lived here for 14 years, these weird and wacky news stories do tend to paint a false picture of what America is actually like. Of course, you'd know that if you were already subscribed to my channel, so if you're not, do that now. But just as was the case during my 26 years of living in the United Kingdom, I have nonetheless seen my fair share of weird incidents. And today I'm going to tell you all about the first 7 that spring to mind. Growing up in the
Superman.
UK, I was a huge fan of the Superman films, specifically numbers 1 and 2. After that, it was diminishing returns. I had everything. I had the toys, I had the VHSs, I even had a
What was first, Superman or Batman? I think Superman was first, then Batman, then Spider-Man. I think that's the order.
Superman costume.
Maybe.
It was a little too tight, and thankfully the pictures have all been burned. But nonetheless, I was surprised to find that here in the state of Illinois, there is a town that has a big Superman statue. And not only does it have a big Superman statue, but the place in question is known as Metropolis. The economy of the entire place seems to be built around Superman, evidenced by the fact that there's even a Superman museum right next to the statue. And now that I have a beard, I'd be really intrigued to see what the people of the town do if I just turned up dressed as General Zod. Billboards by the highway are already a kind of alien concept to me because we just don't really have that in Britain. So when I first moved to the US and I saw them all over the place, it was a little bit of a novelty. Well,
So are billboards the ones, like the long ones that you sort of have on the highways? Surely they could be a bit like distracting. Are they moving billboards, like where they can change? So it's like sort of, it's digital, that the screen will change. Surely that would be kind of distracting, no? But at the same time, I don't actually know if we have. I mean, do we have them here? I don't think we do. We have advertising boards, but I don't know if it's like this on the highways and stuff.
It's a little bit of a novelty. Well,
the
look,
motorways.
there's a friendly one welcoming students to Indiana University. There's an equally friendly one for the hospital of the same name. Oh, and there's another one saying that Jesus is watching us. Best be careful on the road. And I don't know what it's like in other parts of America, but in the Midwest, it does feel like about a quarter of all billboards are devoted in some way to religion. But my favourite ones are the ones that I always see when we're driving through Gary on the way to Indianapolis. Because just about every single one of them is for car accident lawyers. And all I can think as we're driving along surrounded by other vehicles is that this must be an accident hotspot. So now I feel good. Actually, now that I thought about it, those aren't my favourite ones. The weirdest one I've ever seen was a billboard that said, "If you're reading this billboard, then you're not paying attention to the road." Well, no sh**.
The car
And
crash.
while we're on that subject, car crashes, right? I've seen my fair share in the United States. As a passenger, I experienced firsthand my first ever 2 car crashes. But that's not the weird bit. The weird bit came in Anderson, Indiana, near the casino. And for those of you who've been to Anderson, Indiana, you'll know how plausible this is. We were in our car, minding our own business, and the car in front was doing the same. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this smaller car comes racing from the side and smashes into the car in front of us. And firstly, that by itself was the most amazing and terrifying thing that I've ever seen. But not as weird as what happened next, because next, the driver of the car that just crashed into the other car reversed, then did a U-turn and crashed into another car right in front of our very eyes. Our thinking was that he was probably drunk. He was terrified that he was going to get in trouble for hitting the first car, and he tried to bez it away. But in doing so, he totaled his own car, and thankfully, I've never seen that man again. Every now and again, you might see something a little bit weird going on in restaurants, right? And I don't want to throw any companies under the bus, but let's just say that this one rhymes with Binternational Mouse of Flan Cakes. One day, my wife and I went into there. I didn't get any say in the matter. And we got seated, got seen to, ordered our food, and thought to ourselves, this is very 3-star. But then, as time started ticking away, we looked at our watches, which we weren't wearing because it wasn't 1998 anymore, and we realized it had been half an hour since we ordered our food. And in America, that's just not on. Also, we're not the kind of people to berate waiters. I'm just doing this for dramatic effect. And it suddenly occurs to us that our waiter, who was about 16, I think, wasn't just part of a team of waiters. He was the team of waiters. We looked around and he was running from table to table back into the kitchen.
Nah, I couldn't do that, bro. That's too high pressure. That's just too much pressure. Everyone's focusing on you. You've got to like go from one to the other. You've got no time for breaks.
Coming out in hot sweats. And as we're listening in, we hear other diners saying things like, "Oh, our food's taking a while."
Oh, poor guy, man.
Isn't it? But just not in a northern British accent. And they all sound really sort of, you know, mad. And I'm thinking, well, look at him. He's not Superman. This isn't Metropolis. Anyway, after about an hour, he comes over to our table with what he thinks is the food that we ordered and sets it down.
Oh, poor guy cannot catch a break.
Now, I'm a British person. I don't really like confrontation, but I found
So you said it's the right
myself
food.
in the awkward position of having to explain to him that I ordered a burger and chips and not red velvet pancakes. And at this point, he's starting to well up because all of these people have been berating him for something that evidently isn't his fault. And here is this nice and polite British man telling him, "Ooh, I think unfortunately this is not what I ordered." And as soon as he started crying, which is a sentence that already warrants its place in this list, I don't know what to say other than, is everything all right? What's happening? And he tells me that several people called in that night to say they couldn't do the shift, and the manager was nowhere to be seen. How are you open then? Eventually, and I don't know if the manager turned up, but we got our bill and it said 0 on it. And I think they did that to everybody else in the restaurant for this short duration that we were there. It was weird. I've never seen it before, and I haven't seen it since. But being the future benevolent YouTube sensation that I was, I gave him a 50% tip. Not 50% on 0, that would be 0, but on what the original cost was going to be. I just want to clarify that. I almost feel like I'm cheating by including this one because I've since learned that the practice that I'm about to describe does occasionally happen in the UK as well. But my discovery of pig racing, yes, pig racing, occurred at a very American thing, and that was the Indiana State Fair. And I know what you're thinking, ooh, Lawrence, what is pig racing? It's really self-explanatory. Can't believe you asked that. It is exactly as it sounds. They have this miniature track and they just send pigs around to race, and they've got these little...
Oh, that's amazing.
On. It was just weird watching little pigs run around like that, right? Because you're used to seeing horses or dogs or humans. People loved it, from what I could tell, though they were probably high on all of the sugar that they consumed around the fair. And I can't tell you how the pigs felt. I mean, they looked happy enough, but that is their default face. I also don't know what, if anything, the winner got. Because it's not like they can appreciate a trophy. So it was probably just some sort of snack. What do pigs eat? Is it hay? They were probably given some hay. Okay, this one is a little bit morbid. There's no getting around that. Because the truth of the matter is, it was only after I moved to the United States of America at the age of 26 that I saw my first dead body. And for those of you back home thinking, oh, how exciting. That sounds like the plot of Stand By Me. Well, it wasn't. It was more like the plot of My Girl. The bit where Macaulay Culkin gets absolutely killed to bits by bees. And he's in an open casket and you're thinking, well, fair enough. Things were different back then. No, things are still the same. Because just literally months after moving here, I was invited to a wake of a friend of a family member of my wife's that I didn't know, and come to think of it, neither did my wife, but we went anyway. And this is a common practice in the United States. You just walk up to the casket, pay your respects, maybe look at some photos off to the side. I usually focus on that. And the whole process just feels really Victorian. It feels like I'm in Victorian Britain. And America, or at the very least Indiana, has some other sort of funeral related practices that you'd never see in Britain, because when you're in a car in a funeral procession in Indiana, all of the cars that aren't part of the funeral procession have to stop out of respect. And while you're sitting there heading to the cemetery, you're thinking, oh, that's really nice. That's a nice show of respect. From experience, you're not quite as on board with the idea when you're in one of those cars and you want Culvers, because you just sort of feel trapped, which is a perfect segue into this. I think it's well known by people that have seen my video on the subject that America has all manner of wild animals. You've got bears, you've got huge eagles, you've got crocodiles in Florida and alligators in Florida. But here in Chicago, a major city that isn't in a massive wooded area or high mountains or a swamp, we don't really see too many of those animals, except there was this one time. I was woken from my afternoon slumber by my wife. That's not the weird part, that happens all the time. Because she wanted me to come and see something that was happening outside our window. And getting up off the sofa, I'm thinking, oh, what crazy shenanigans has Chainsaw Jim got himself into this time? And for once, it was nothing to do with him. Because outside our window, trapped between two fences that were this close to each other, was what my wife informed me was a coyote. And of course, I'd heard of coyotes. I don't know why they're still up. I'd heard of coyotes. I just didn't expect to find them in the city. For me, I just assumed these were the sorts of animals that turned up on your uncle's farm.
So,
right?
Is a coyote sort... Wait, so... I'm sort of thinking about the food chain right now. How big are coyotes? Because we got foxes here. Fox... compared... Oh my god. What is the sort of difference? Like, wolves are obviously the big ones. Coyote has a much larger size, longer legs, and a more muscular body and a thinner tail. The fox, by contrast, has shorter legs, a smaller body, and a bushy tail. So I guess on the food chain, the coyote is sort of in between a fox and a wolf. Yeah, it does look a lot more badass, to be fair. Like, it could cause damage. Do coyotes attack people? They probably do, don't they?
It felt like nowhere was safe. But then I had a moment of compassion and I thought to myself, it's not us that's in danger here, it's the coyote, right? At any moment, some chickens could come along and point at it and laugh, which, given the history between the two animals, would provide some justice. But I thought in order to prevent that, or something even worse, we should probably free it. So we did, and now that I'm admitting it to thousands of people on YouTube, I'm not entirely sure that was the right thing to do, because it wandered off into an alleyway and ended up who knows where. Because where can a coyote live in a city? I mean, there's all manner of potential hazards, right? Traffic, construction, Chainsaw Jim. And that probably accounts for why I never saw a Chicago coyote before that incident, or one since. So those are some of the weirdest things that I've personally witnessed.
I mean, you definitely don't come across any of these things, especially the last one, in probably most countries, to be honest. As a British expat myself, I've seen a fair few strange occurrences. While camping and making s'mores around the campfire, we were happened upon by a black bear. A friend of mine then proceeded to tame the bear with an offering of a bag of marshmallows. The bear ate them, watched us briefly, then buggered off. I then went and changed my trousers. What the fuck? I like how we just quickly moved past a guy named Chainsaw Jim. A bear eating marshmallows, bro. I bet they'll eat anything, won't they? But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.